Good evening everyone, and welcome back to my little paradise, northern little paradise. And I'm happy to meet you again here on the Prestvannet Lake, which is on top of the Tromsø island, and we have some birds flying here. And I'm living next to the tower here. You can see on the picture. So I'm really close to the lake, and I'm regularly, if not every day, almost every day, come to that lake just to enjoy a little bit the beautiful atmosphere and the calmness and the peacefulness of the place. I'm not gonna lie, I already took some pictures, and I'm gonna talk about those pictures right after that introduction, because now those clouds that you can see in the sky are quite dark and not colorful at all, but a few minutes ago, just after sunset, actually, they were pink, orange, reddish, purplish. So I already took the pictures because I wanted to talk about the composition and the kind of pictures I like to take. And so I already took the pictures, and I will show you on my camera, and I'm recording now that video since the sun is gone. So yes, the sun is gone, the sun is going right now. I mean, like we had the midnight sun for 2 months until end of last 3rd of July, and now since a few weeks the sun sets and rises up again in the morning. So it sets around 10 o'clock in the evening, and it's going to rise around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So we still don't have dark nights. It's still bright, I would say, but in a few weeks from now we will really start to have real nights. And I've just checked today. I mean, the northern lights are coming. The northern lights is starting soon. As we don't have the dark nights yet, we cannot see them, but apparently tonight they're quite active. Unfortunately not for today, once again, because the sky is too bright. As I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about composition. And the basic rule of landscape photography is the rule of third. So it means that you try as much as possible to compose an image that would look a little bit like that. 1/3 for the sky, 1/3 for the horizon and the lake here, and 1/3 for the foreground with those herbs. Try as much as possible to avoid like centered horizon, because here, I mean, it's not dynamic. It might be a nice photo, nice colors and so on, but it's really not a dynamic photo, not a photo that you would like to hang on your wall. And it's a little bit flat, and we try as much as possible to avoid that. Of course, you can always escape from the rule of third for landscape photography. For instance, you can give a try to a really sky, 2/3 of skies, 1/3 of foreground, but actually that's again the rule of third, because you got 2/3 and 1/3. Or you can do that, 1/3 for the sky, 2/3 for the foreground. But you can also, I mean, do something like that, really the horizon really close to the bottom of the frame and a lot of space in the sky. But that really, I mean, might work if you have really a sky with a lot of clouds, with a lot of colors, which is not the case right now, and what was even not the case a few minutes ago during the sunset. So that doesn't work. You can also do something like that, but then, for instance, here you would wonder, what are those reflections in the water? Of course you would guess that those are clouds, but not seeing them on the image might look a little bit strange. So that doesn't really work. As I said, that would, I mean, work a little bit better. It might be not an extraordinary picture, but still it's an image that works, an image that will be agreeable and nice to watch. And that's what is important in landscape photography. The rule of third is really a basic, fundamental rule that if you apply it, you might not get an extraordinary picture, but at least you will get really a nice image. And something like that, really, as I said, a centered horizon would work. For instance, if I would really like centered here, if I had a really beautiful reflection. It's not the case, because you can see the water is not totally calm, even if there is no wind, and so we don't have like a perfect reflection, and that image, yeah, wouldn't really work. So once again, rule of third. That's what I will show you now on my camera. I will go back a little bit. Yes, here. So I use bracketing again, 9 exposure. I mean, I have time, I have enough space on my card, and I can use as much images as I want. So here, for instance, I've used bracketing 9 exposure, and then you can see, yeah, if I scroll through the images, and oh, that was an image from a long time ago. And here you can see, I mean, what is like the flicking part on the sky is overexposed. But that doesn't matter because I have different exposure, and with that technique, using a tripod so my camera doesn't move the different exposure, and they won't move at all from one exposure to the other one. And using bracketing, I will be able to use, for instance, here a correct exposure for the sky, and then a correct exposure for the foreground. And then in post-processing, I will assemble and stack those images together, the perfectly exposed sky, the perfectly exposed foreground, to obtain a really perfect image in terms of exposure throughout the picture, from foreground to background and vice versa. It's really important because here you can see we still have a bright sky. The horizon is quite dark and not many details, and the foreground, the lake, is almost the same brightness as the sky, and then the foreground, now it looks nice, but then it's overexposed on top. So if I use that bracketing techniques during shooting, I can use the different part of the image that are correctly exposed and then stack them together to have a really nice image, and really being so I would be able to exploit all the colors, all the nice exposure, all the details. For instance, now we have, and we had before, we had not tiny details you can see in the sky, those like whitish, I mean pinkish clouds, and if I don't expose correctly that part, it's going to be blown out. I mean, it's going to be totally white, and I cannot get any details out of that. So it's really important, and that's the kind of technique I'm using to be able to get the images that you can see on my social media, on my website and so on, to have really nice images. Of course, when I assemble those images, those different parts of the image, I don't want to have something visible. I don't want to see the trick, into brackets, that I use different part of the image. I want to have really a nicely exposed image that actually I can see with my own eyes now. I mean, my own eyes, my brain make the compensation automatically. I don't have, like when I look the foreground, I don't have the background overexposed, and vice versa. But on the camera, it's not exactly the same. I mean, if I expose correctly for the foreground, then my background and my sky will be overexposed. So I'm just recreating what my own eyes can see to make sure that I have a nicely exposed image. That's what I wanted to tell you for today. I hope you enjoyed that little session. In terms of techniques, I'm using now f9, so aperture 9. I'm using normally 8, 9, 11 because I mean, my foreground is not that close. My background, okay, it's far away, it's at infinite. But with f9, I'm pretty sure that my image is going to be perfectly sharp from my foreground, the herbs, to the background. I'm using aperture priority, so the speed of the camera is chosen based on the sensor. And then I'm using bracketing, as I explained before, because with bracketing I can have for sure perfectly exposed images. I'm gonna end up with that video right now. I hope once again that you enjoyed it. I'm going to continue a little bit to wander around the lake and to enjoy just the beautiful nature here in Northern Norway. Bye and see you soon.